I try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault, and I let everybody down.
Okay, this is wild. Brittany Griner was in tears. Aliyah Boston was absolutely lifting her teammates, and somehow the Indiana Fever just stormed into the semifinals for the first time since 2015. Seriously, analysts gave them zero chance, not with 6 injured players and absolutely no Caitlin Clark. So how on earth did Indiana flip this whole narrative? And what does Griner's emotional breakdown actually tell us about her future? Like, how did Aliyah Boston dominate Griner so completely that now people are actually talking about retirement? You're probably wondering, is this really the end for Griner? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. We want to hear what you think.
Now, Mitchell's been quiet for a while. Not anymore. In Canada with another assist. A big bounce back night for her. Mitchell dribbles behind the line to take the 3. Howard with the one-handed rebound and putback.
6 players injured.
You have to understand, that's how many players the Fever were missing when they walked into Game 3 in Atlanta, and somehow they're still the team headed to the semifinals. Just think about that for a second. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, Erie McDonald, Damaris Dantis, all sidelined. Practically half of Stephanie White's entire rotation was literally sitting in street clothes, yet they still found a way to snap a playoff drought that's been stretching back for nearly a full decade. That's insane.
You talked about the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday. Just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win or go home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. You know, we're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
Let me break this down for you. The last time Indiana actually won a playoff series, Tameka Catchings was still anchoring the roster, Stephanie White was coaching them all the way to a finals run, and Natasha Howard was literally just breaking into the league. Since then, fans have pretty much grown used to early exits and constant rebuilding talk, but this team, they completely flipped the script on Friday. Analysts were all saying there was absolutely no chance they'd beat Atlanta without Clark shooting, or Cunningham's energy. Some even argued the Dream's depth would totally wear them out, but instead, Indiana somehow looked like the team that was playing at full strength.
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to win.
Inside Gateway Center Arena, the crowd was buzzing, but honestly, it felt like split loyalties. Fever fans came in loud, and by the second half, get this, you could actually hear them more than the Dream supporters. It genuinely felt like a home game during an elimination matchup, and you better believe that gave the players some serious juice down the stretch. And make no mistake, the injured stars were absolutely part of that energy too. Clark never stopped rallying from the bench. Cunningham was acting like another assistant coach, and Bibby was in every single huddle. They basically had their sixth man, even without them being on the court. That's some next level team spirit right there.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
And get this, you had Sims driving straight to the foul line, blazing into the paint, a sick crossover, left-right, getting set in the paint, layup, good. That's pure magic.
Inside, Boston.
But here's the crazy part. Then you realize just how personal this victory really was for the actual lineup that was on the court. This isn't just Aliyah Boston's first playoff series win. Oh no, it's Kelsey Mitchell's first too. Same for Lexi Hall, who's been grinding her way into the rotation. Every single player who touched the floor had a role, but for those names, it totally doubled as validation. And after the way games 1 and 2 unfolded, with all that controversial officiating, missed calls, whistles late in the fourth stirring up so much anger around the league, this win felt seriously overdue. But the Fever, they didn't let any of that bleed into their focus in Game 3. They just shut the door for good.
to Jones. Throws it up.
No good! Game over! And the Fever are moving on!
Okay, so Atlanta had the healthier roster, the assumed advantage, and their home floor, right? But Indiana, they countered with pure grit, unbelievable togetherness, and just enough clutch playmaking when it mattered most. And once the dream literally melted in the final minutes, resilience completely won out. Which of course brings us straight to Aaliyah Boston's epic showdown with Brittany Griner, and how it absolutely signaled a clear changing of the guard in the paint. Seriously, why was Brittany Griner sitting on the bench for most of an elimination game? That's the part that shocked absolutely everyone. You're talking about a player who for years was the face of playoff basketball inside the paint. Whenever the postseason rolled around, she was the one defenses dreaded, the one who could swing momentum with a monster block shot or a quick hook. And yet in this series, especially in Game 3, she wasn't even trusted to finish. That alone tells you everything you need to know about how fast things have shifted.
This is just 4 of 16 from the floor in Game 2. That's terrific call into Boston. Beautiful read.
Griner literally built her entire career on overpowering her matchups inside. She had the length, the quick step, and the instincts to protect the rim while still punishing slower bigs on the other end. In past playoff runs, she'd put up double-doubles without even breaking a sweat, but against Indiana, none of that showed up. She struggled to score, she looked flat-footed on rotations, and the Dream simply couldn't rely on her defense to cover any gaps. Instead of being the anchor, she became a serious liability. On the other side though, Aaliyah Boston was everything Griner used to be. Boston finished Game 3 with 14 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. And it wasn't just the numbers, it was when she made them. With the clock winding down in the fourth, she got perfect position, finished the go-ahead layup with just 7.4 seconds left, and left Atlanta with absolutely no answer. That single play, man, it pretty much flipped Griner's career highlight reel upside down.
For Atlanta has not been good. 40%. Maybe a little higher than that, 45.
Indiana electing not to call a timeout. Boston almost gave it away. Into Boston for the lead. She hits it. Indiana goes up.
Boston gets it. Mitchell is denied, but then Jordan Canada falls. Bree Jones almost gets it, but that's a second defender that's gone down, and Bree Jones.
What's even more insane is Boston's defensive approach, which was just as important. She never chased blocks or overcommitted. Instead, she systematically pushed Griner off her favored spots, angled her body to force fadeaways, and stayed disciplined when Griner tried to back her down. That kind of relentless positioning made Griner completely uncomfortable. Shots that looked automatic in years past were rattling out, and by the third quarter, you could literally see the frustration building. There's a huge difference between losing to pure talent and losing because someone flat out took away your comfort zone in Boston. She gave Griner absolutely none. The numbers totally back it up. Griner's playoff averages across her prime seasons show her producing in double digits with high efficiency and heavy minutes, right? But in this series, she dropped to career lows, 2 points and 2 rebounds in one game, barely cracking the box score, then losing her minutes when it mattered most. Now compare that to Boston's stat line, not only scoring and rebounding, but actually creating for teammates with 6 assists. I mean, it's the most direct contrast you could possibly script.
I don't think I really gotten through all the way. That I didn't let down, everybody in my family, and it was just. I think I'm still trying to get through that part. Still to this day. I try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault. And I let everybody down.
And now, the question that's popping up everywhere, is Brittany Griner done as a dominant center? Because honestly, when your coach benches you during an elimination game, that signals more than just a rough night, it strongly suggests a loss of faith. Sure, she's had a long career with plenty of incredible highs, but the way this entire series unfolded, it looked less like a slump and more like, well, a closing chapter. Maybe she's genuinely slowing down for good. Maybe she's even eyeing retirement sooner than anyone expected. Or maybe, just maybe, she simply ran into a player who already looks like the undisputed future of the position. So while Griner quietly sat on the sideline, Boston boldly took the spotlight that used to belong entirely to her. And in that moment, it wasn't just a single game deciding who moved on to the semifinals. It genuinely felt like a passing of the torch. The old standard bowed out, the new one stood tall, and nobody watching could possibly pretend not to notice what had just happened.
10. Mitchell, a little bit too strong. Boy, oh, we got some stuff going on here between Aaliyah Boston and Bree Jones, who ended up on the deck. The officials are going to go over to...
Alright, so now the story moves from just one player to the entire roster, because as great as Boston was, Indiana needed way more than just one star to close this out. It took Mitchell constantly attacking, everyone making hustle plays, Sims perfectly setting the table, and role players stepping in exactly where and when they were needed. And that collective effort, that's the real reason the Fever are somehow still alive in the postseason. Seriously, just imagine losing 6 key rotation players. That's not just depth gone, that's entire game plans ripped completely apart. Yet somehow Indiana managed to put together one of their most complete team wins of the entire season. So if it wasn't Caitlin Clark leading the charge, and it wasn't the bench packed with their usual firepower, then who actually decided this game? The answer is a powerful mix of leaders, veterans, and players who absolutely refused to let the season end.
Just picked up her second foul, so Hillman and Gray each with 2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aaliyah Boston.
Mitchell. Man, she is so good. Kelsey Mitchell completely set the tone, and you could see it from the absolute opening quarter. Atlanta's defense was clogging the lane. Bodies were everywhere. Hands were constantly reaching on her drives, and yet she still found buckets anyway, finishing with an incredible 24 points, including 19 in the first half alone. That's what kept Indiana within striking distance when things easily could have completely unraveled. Without her insane ability to carve through traffic and find space in tight windows, the Fever wouldn't have even been close enough for all the late game drama. She's been their leading scorer across this entire postseason, and in this matchup, she played like the absolute anchor for a team missing its superstar.
Packing from the outside and now the inside. Now Mitchell's been quiet for a while, not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston, again the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the 3-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey Mitchell.
So then there's Odyssey Sims, a hardship contract pickup, and now suddenly she's one of the most important players on the floor in a knockout game. She completely stuffed the stat sheet with 16 points and 8 assists. But the real story here is the timing. That critical pass to Boston in the final seconds that perfectly set up the go-ahead layup, that, my friends, is poise you just don't usually get from someone who only recently got there. Sims gave Mitchell another ball handler, another confident voice, and when the defense collapsed, she knew exactly where to send the ball. No hesitation, no panic, just pure composure when Indiana absolutely needed it most.
A complete skill set in all that she can do.
It's the first miss for Atlanta as Howard could not get it to go. Odyssey Sims, this is what head coach Stephanie White wants from Odyssey. Gray with 10 points so far. Sims dribbled right into trouble and was able to score and get fouled.
But here's where it gets crazy. Lexi Hall had the single biggest defensive play of the entire night. With just 7.4 seconds left, Atlanta had one last desperate chance. Ryan Howard tried triggering the inbound, but Hall, she read it absolutely perfectly. Quick anticipation, a clean steal, and just like that, game over. That steal completely erased any chance of a miracle comeback and sealed the series win right there. Moments like that don't always show up as flashy as a box score stat, but let me tell you, it was the defining sequence for Indiana's entire season.
Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexi Hall. Hall with the steal, and the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
And honestly, Brianna Turner deserves her flowers too. She wasn't lighting up the stat sheet with crazy numbers, but her defensive positioning and relentless activity gave Indiana the absolute toughness they needed to compete with Atlanta's length. Stephanie White has described her as the ultimate pro, and watching her play, you could totally see why. She rotated perfectly where others slipped, contested shots without fouling, and consistently did all the thankless work to stabilize possessions. Add Natasha Howard, who chipped in with little plays that don't always get featured, and you had two seasoned veterans making sure the glue held this entire team together.
Griner posting up, setting a screen ultimately that Shea Petty ran into.
Anytime Atlanta needs a bucket, they look to her, and she's wanting the ball as well with the last score for Atlanta.
You know, even the smallest minutes mattered immensely. Michaela Timpson only played 4 minutes, but in that short stretch, she pulled down 5 rebounds. That's instant impact, pure and simple. And Shea Petty, she had the clutch 3 in the fourth quarter that totally flipped momentum, yet again. These are the kinds of contributions that don't scream headlines, but they absolutely shift games, especially when your rotations are thin. The bench itself also played a huge role, even without logging any minutes. Clark, Cunningham, and Bibby were actively engaged in huddles, clapping, shouting, even just lending their energy. Clark even showed up laced in black Air Force Ones, and Fever fans couldn't help but call it a good luck charm. That sideline presence gave Indiana a crucial sixth-man mentality, and it mattered big time in the late stages when composure was everything, especially considering all the officiating drama from earlier games down the stretch in Game 3. They simply didn't.
None of the signees because of injuries in the game. As we approach a minute to go, Aerial Powers in.
The bench.
All the injured players to not just cheerlead, but also to give advice to all the newbies. Big block by Powers.
Good help side by Aerial Powers.
So this win wasn't about one star lifting everyone. It was layered, built on everyone accepting a role and stepping into it precisely when their moment came. And now the real question becomes this: if this injury-riddled team can finish off Atlanta like that, what on earth happens when they're staring down the two-time champions in Las Vegas? You honestly think knocking out Atlanta with 6 injured players was impressive? Well, wait until you see what's waiting in Vegas. The Indiana Fever's reward for their first playoff series win in nearly a decade is a brutal matchup with the team that has been absolutely running the league, the Las Vegas Aces. This isn't the Dream's young roster anymore. This is a 2-time champion led by Asia Wilson, a player some are already calling one of the greatest forwards ever. Add Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, and Chelsea Gray, and you're looking at a lineup that not only knows how to close games, but genuinely doesn't flinch under pressure.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals of the WNBA for the first time in 10 years. Kelsey Mitchell said, all that we've got, and we have all that we need, cobbling together this roster, and here they are, about to be in the Final Four.
What you thought was impossible is possible. A team that has been devastated by injury, rallying on the road one more time.
The contrast between these two squads could not be starker, seriously. Indiana's patched together, still battling through the absence of Caitlin Clark and a bench absolutely filled with injured veterans. Vegas, they're at full strength, talented at every single position, and certainly no stranger to playoff basketball. Just last week, they survived a tough test against Seattle, with Wilson dropping an insane 38 points and Jackie Young hitting the game winner with just 12 seconds left. That's exactly what Indiana is walking into, a team that absolutely thrives in crunch time and expects to win, period. Aaliyah Boston has been sensational, no doubt, but now comes her hardest test yet. A'ja Wilson isn't just a scorer, she's versatile enough to guard multiple positions while still dominating the glass. Boston will need every single bit of her strength and discipline to even match up. The paint isn't just about points in this series, it's about control, and whoever wins that battle probably decides the entire series.
Y'all are a tough bunch of. I mean, I cannot even put into words how proud I am. It's like the toughness that it takes, like the gut checks that it takes. Like, y'all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we've been through all of it, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter the time. You always put your best foot forward. You always get to the next play. And it's always someone different.
The Fever's other huge challenge is purely tactical. Look, when their ball movement clicks, they create open looks and strike incredibly quickly in transition, right? But against Vegas, every single mistake turns into easy points the other way. Every single one. This is where Kelsey Mitchell's shot making becomes absolutely critical. She simply cannot afford to have empty possessions, not against one of the highest powered offenses in the entire league. Odyssey Sims will also be seriously tested as a secondary playmaker, trying to find those tiny windows against defenders who rotate faster and more aggressively than anything Atlanta put out there. Let me tell you, their playmaking against that defense is going to be a true test.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the releases yet. They caught us when we were at a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
Becky Hammond already said it plainly, didn't she? They haven't seen the real aces yet. That wasn't just a throwaway line, it signals confidence, and honestly, it's a massive warning. The Fever will have to prove their resilience wasn't just a one-round story. This upcoming series will either confirm they're building something truly sustainable, or it'll show the limits of pure heart when stacked against proven championship talent. Aaliyah Boston didn't just win a matchup, she completely flipped a storyline. Where Brittany Griner once controlled the paint, Boston just walked in and claimed it as her own. That performance marked a real turning point, not only for her but also for the Fever's identity as a team that genuinely doesn't crumble under pressure. And what makes this incredible run even harder to ignore is just how short-handed Indiana was. I mean, if they can win a playoff series missing nearly half their roster, what on earth happens when Clark and all the others return, and could we actually be watching the very beginning of a dynasty taking shape right before our eyes? Do you think this is the end for Griner? Let us know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.